Welcome to the world of probiotic foods. This is Cultured Food Life with your host, Donna Schwenk.
Welcome, everybody, and thanks for joining me. And today we're going to be talking about apples and apple peels and just what they have to do with strengthening a very important good bacteria in your gut called Akkermansia. You remember the old English proverb that said an apple a day keeps the doctor away? Well, there may be more truth to this than you know. And apples have always been associated with a number of health benefits. They have pectin and all kinds of vitamins that help promote long-term health. But one of my very favorite things that they do is they feed an all-important bacteria in your gut called Akkermansia Municiphila. And you may not have heard of it before now, but Akkermansia is really important. It was actually discovered in 2004, and this friendly bacteria makes up 1 to 4% of our total gut microbes. And what Akkermansia does is it helps to maintain our gut lining and has many health benefits. Now, it's really important to understand your gut lining. It's very thin, it's a very thin lining, and it keeps us protected from the outside world. And when it's damaged, you can have leaky gut syndrome, which is also linked to IBS. You can have anxiety, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, and it can cause a lot of problems if your gut lining isn't healthy and intact. And in this day and age, with so many people taking things like ibuprofens and these anti-inflammatory drugs, they can really damage our gut lining and create more problems than they solve. So it's really important to strengthen your gut lining. And the one thing that I talk about consistently over and over again is that food can be powerful medicine. And apples can help keep your gut and microbes thriving. But let me explain how it all works. Okay, Akkermansia, the good bacteria in your gut, loves the mucus in your gut. And the muciniphila part of the name of Akkermansia Municiphila comes from Akkermansia's love of mucus. And it loves to eat the slimy layer of mucus that coats inside your intestinal walls. And this mucus layer is very important for gut health. And it's very important for the health of your whole body. And what it does is it munches on the mucus, and it also produces nutrients that feed other good bacteria in your gut. It doesn't deplete the gut lining, but rather quite the opposite. It actually really encourages the cells to become stronger and make a very tough barrier, which is super important in your gut. So just in the last few years, the research has been really studying Akkermansia, and several of these studies have already linked it to leanness in the body. Akkermansia is more abundant in lean individuals. In overweight individuals, there's usually a lower amount of this particular bacteria. And even more studies are now saying that not having enough of Akkermansia bacteria can lead to diseases like Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, appendicitis, type 2 diabetes, obesity, and some other ones too. But they're linking it to this. Now, how do you feed Akkermansia? One of the favorite foods of Akkermansia is that it loves apple peels. And apples are loaded with pectin. Apples contain over 50% pectin, and it's a very potent prebiotic, and it's especially abundant in the peels. And Akkermansia grows like crazy when you eat apples, and especially if you eat the peels of the apples. Now, there are other foods that feed Akkermansia too. It loves berries, like elderberries, blueberries. It likes Jerusalem artichokes, and asparagus, cherries, strawberries, plums, raspberries, apple peels, apples, apple peel powders, rye bread, and FOS, which is fructooleosaccharide. That's a prebiotic that feeds the growing. They used to test it on the Akkermansia in laboratories. They would feed it FOS, and it would just thrive. FOS is in a lot of different like prebiotic supplements. I sell one called Prebiotic Plus. I think Bodycology has one called Eco Bloom. There's a lot of them on the market now, and all you got to do is look at the back of the jar if it's a prebiotic supplement and look for FOS or fructooleosaccharide, which is a long, huge word, but usually it's just abbreviated, or inulin, and you'll see that is one of the foods Akkermansia loves as well. Now, apple peels is its preferred food, okay? And once I learned how to feed Akkermansia, I spent days peeling apples, making applesauce to feed these microbes the special food that they wanted. But then I discovered apple peel powder, and I love it. I ordered it online. I found a distributor and started ordering it online, and I started adding it to my smoothies in the morning. But I also eat a lot of apples too. And it wasn't too long after that I found a book written by Joel Green, The Immunity Code, where he talks in great detail about how important it is to feed this particular bacteria. And wouldn't you know, he talked about feeding it apple peels as being the most important food for Akkermansia because it loves it and it helps it to grow and thrive. And it helps keep that gut lining intact. So the more of this good bacteria you have, the stronger your gut lining will be. And polyphenols are really important foods for your microbiome to flourish. And polyphenols are in things like apples and berries, and they just load your body with these special, these special types of berries, and apple peels have these special type of polyphenols in them that promote the growth of bifidobacteria, lactobacillus, and Akkermansia Municiphila, which is so, so important, not just for your gut lining, but to keep your body young, to keep it being healthy, because the more bifido you have, the more of these certain bacteria you have, the healthier and younger you will feel, and the longer your body will last, because your gut lining is a very important part of staying young, staying healthy, and keeping disease at bay. Now, I love apple peel powder. I have a lot of it. You can buy it. You can buy it I've seen it on Amazon, and I actually started selling it because I love it so much. And Layer Origin is the one that I sell, and you can get it from them directly or from me. And you can also get some brands that are on Amazon, and I love it. And it's an easy way to eat. I still think you should eat lots of apples, but I also think and their peel, but I also think it's a fun and easy way to feed your microbiome just by getting the powders so that when you're low on time and energy, you can just, toss it in your smoothie or toss it in a drink and stir with water, and it helps to feed that really important bacteria in your gut. Now, I have tons of apple recipes, and I want to talk to you about some of them because I'm going to give you a bunch of these. But apple recipes are one of my favorite things to add, and I did this way before I knew how good apples were. I do an apple ginger shot. That's where you juice an apple with a hunk of ginger, and it's just a fantastic way to get that juice into your body, but it also helps your body to reduce inflammation, and it's great for allergies. If you have like histamine problems or allergies in the spring times, seasonal allergies, there's nothing like taking an apple ginger shot. It's great for colds. It's great for any time you're feeling bad. An apple ginger shot, if you have a juicer, it's just one whole apple and a half inch of ginger, just ginger root. Juice them together and just swig it down. They're showing up in stores and health food stores. People make ginger shots all the time. I love them. Another fun breakfast that I love to have is called apple kefir bircher, it's really, really a fun breakfast, and it's got apples, and I like to put raspberries in mine. It's got kefir, it's got nuts and seeds and oats in it. And I think I put pumpkin seeds and rolled oats. Let's see, pecans and almonds and walnuts. Walnuts are such a good nut for you to eat. They do so many things. I need to write a whole article on how powerful walnuts are. You can put some raisins in, raspberries. I just love this recipe, and that's one of my favorites. There's also apple kraut, which is just apples shredded with cabbage, and you ferment it. And it makes the most delicious kraut. Oh gosh, I love it. It's one of my more popular recipes. And you get all the benefits of the probiotics from the cabbage in it, but the apples feed those probiotics in there. And so it makes it a very strong cultured vegetable cultured vegetable ferment, because just a spoonful is super powerful. And it's so easy to make, but it makes your cabbage taste yummy. So it's basically kraut, but it has the flavor of apples in it, which is really super yummy, and something I think you'd really love. I love it. A lot of people on my site make this all the time. I also have another recipe called apple rice miso. I love to make rice, but I chop up an apple and put it in there. And I add a little bit of miso paste to it. I cook the apple in with the rice and just a little bit of broth and water, and you put a little bit of miso paste in it, and it makes a really yummy rice side dish. I have a Christmas kraut, which is unbelievably good. It's got cranberries and apples and kraut in it, cabbage, and some special seasonings that people like at Christmas, cinnamon, and just all kinds of flavorful things. It's a really good kraut recipe too, that not just have at Christmas. It's wonderful to have any time of year. We love it. I have a cultured apple nut and cheese dip, which is very addictive because we love it. It has so much flavor, and this is one of the first recipes I ever developed with Kefir cheese. And it has walnuts in it because walnuts are so good for you. And apple has a little bit of blue cheese in it, and it's a dip. It's a cheese dip. It's essentially, it's almost, you could make it into a cheese ball, but I think it would be a little bit hard to get the shape. But it is so good. And I put Kefir cheese in it, which is just kefir that you strain the whey out so it turns into a cheese. And then walnuts and blue cheese, apples, dates, lemon, onion salt, and a little bit of fresh parsley. And it is so good. It's one of my very first Kefir cheese recipes that I ever made. And it's been one of my favorite. I have another recipe that I love. It's called, it's a salad recipe. And it has an apple, I think it like kind of an apple-y dressing, but it also has apples in the salad with toasted pecans and this wonderful topping that's made out of toasted sesame seeds and a little bit of nutritional yeast. And you kind of toast the pecans and you toss it on top. So you have an apple with some kale and some spinach. And gosh, you have this like lemon kefir dressing that you can put on top. And if you don't have lemons, you can use a little bit of lemon juice in it. But I often substitute apple juice because I love the flavor. And it's probably one of my family's favorite salads. And I also have flu prevention cultured veggies, which are super delicious, but they are also very effective for cold and flu season because they have a lot of prebiotics in them that feed the cultured vegetables in this dish that make these vegetables really, really strong. Because prebiotics, which are things like apples, is a prebiotic. Carrots. This has got jicama in it. If you don't know what jicama is, it's kind of like a sweet, they call it a Mexican potato. It's so delicious. And it's got leeks in it, spinach, cabbage, and orange. And you put all of this in a jar and you make this kraut, but it feeds the good bacteria that's in the cultured vegetables and makes them very strong because all of these foods are prebiotics. So it's very effective for getting you through cold and flu season or for any time of the year. A spoonful makes all the difference in the world. You don't need very much. You can even just have the juice, and that's super effective. And it's a really, really popular recipe too for me, and one that most people really like. It's really, really delicious. Another recipe, I have a Kefir Walter salad, which is, apples and celery, and I think I've got goji berries in here, and I've got kombucha mayo, and lettuce and stuff. Oh, it's so good. If you like Waldorf salads, which is a cold salad, but it's got a lot of fruit in it, you would really like this salad. It's got a little bit of raisins, Boston lettuce, again, walnuts, and it's really good for you. I have kombucha apples, which are super easy to make. You just slice up apples and you put the star anise in it and cinnamon, and you just let them ferment for a day or two, and they get cultured and probiotic, and they're bubbly and they're delicious. It's a great way to have a snack in the afternoon. I also have an apple salad in a fermenting jar. It's got an apple dressing that's got apples in it and all different kinds of things where you can layer the salad and the ingredients in the jar. It's so good. And guys, I'm putting all these recipes in the link below so you can see them. And last but not least, I have a Scoby Applesauce that my daughter Macy came up with. And actually, if you've made kombucha and you have a Scoby, and Scobies are actually very good for you to eat. They give you a lot of different types of good bacteria in them. But you just grind them up into a puree and you put it in with apples and applesauce, and it's so good for you and it tastes wonderful. You can't even taste them. But it helps, some of the things that are in the Scobies for kombucha. I know this sounds weird, and I thought she was crazy when she first told me, but it's actually very good. But some of the the matrix that is made with the Scoby is actually similar to what is happening within our joints in our body. And so it helps to reduce inflammation in our joints and gives us a lot of good bacteria that we need to help promote our gut lining to grow and be healthy. And it's actually very, very good, even though it sounds super crazy. But anyway, those are some of my apple recipes, and I will link that and the article in the description below. And I really want to encourage you to eat some more apples, to eat especially the peel and the apples themselves. Use them as a snack. I'm getting ready to have a snack here. I've got some new yogurt starters that we're selling and starting to have on our website, and I'm testing out a lot of things. And I take one of the yogurts and I chop up an apple and put walnuts in it, a little bit of honey, and it's like an afternoon snack for me. And it's something my microbes love. It's something that makes the good bacteria in my gut grow. And so check out, we've got one of them available now. We've got one called, it's actually L. reuteri, which is a very important bacteria that doesn't actually abide in our colons, but it abides in the upper gastrointestinal area, which can help a lot of people who are having problems with things like SIBO and problems like that. It actually colonizes there, and it helps actually kind of works like an antibiotic that kills some of the bad bacteria that doesn't belong in the small intestine. So it's actually very helpful for people who are struggling with that. And it's kind of been a hard thing to make on your own. And we actually have made a starter because it's helping so many people. And they actually call this starter, it makes oxytocin in the brain, which gives you more compassion, more relatability to people. You feel more connectedness to them is what the studies are saying. But anyway, it's a fun yogurt to make. And then we've got another yogurt starter that should be here in a week or two. That's got bifidobacteria, which is one of my favorite bacteria in the gut that we need more of. And we need to feed these microbes the things they need. I just wrote an article on how fermented foods, they did a big study in Stanford on which foods were more powerful, the fermented foods like kefir and yogurts and cultured vegetables and kombucha, or were the fibers more important that feed the bacteria. And hands down, it shocked the researchers when they found that the fermented foods made up the biggest difference, because you can eat all the fibrous prebiotic foods you want, but if you don't have the gut microbes that actually use that as fuel, it's actually their food. The fiber is really more for them than it is for us. And if you don't have those strains in there to eat those, then it just comes out as undigested fibers that don't do the body the good they could, because you're missing the probiotic strains that are in your body. So those are some of the things. I'm always excited when I find and learn new things. And I'm constantly, guys, I've been doing this for over 20 years, and I just constantly learn new things. And research is just showing up in droves as to how important our gut microbiome is and how it creates such wellness in the body. And I am living proof of that. I don't have the problems I had when I was much younger, 20 years ago. And I owe all of the credit to my 100 trillion microbes that abide within me and keep me well. They keep me young. They keep me active. They keep my brain happy. They keep anxiety at bay. They do all the things that I can't do for myself. But you have to feed them the foods they like, the fibers they need, the things like apples and apple peels and the berries and all those things. And then you need to have some strains in your body that will help those good bacteria remain in your body, because they often get stripped by antibiotics. Some of the toxins in our environment that we eat that get into our bodies, and we lose a lot of those good bacteria, Akkermansia being one of them. So it's really important that we help those microbes thrive and grow. And that's kind of my job. That's kind of what I teach you every day. And guys, I don't make stuff that's super hard, because I just am very busy. So I'm always trying to find ways to help you to make this an easy part of your diet, because it's made such a difference in my life. And I get up every day thinking about it, because when something makes you well, you pay attention. And I see so many people struggling. They're so afraid of getting sick, or they're worried about their health. And I was one of those people too, many years ago. And when I really found these foods and started eating them, it changed my whole world. I stopped being afraid. I have such confidence in my body because we've been working together, since I was born, but I really didn't pay attention to what was going on inside of me until I got sick. And when I started to turn that around by understanding what my microbiome was doing and how it could help me, I had diabetes, I had high blood pressure, I had all metabolic syndrome, I had all those kinds of problems. And all those things went away when I started to care for my body and started eating cultured foods and started to understand how everything worked. And as I've gotten older, I've continued to learn more and more and more about different strains and what our body does. And Akkermansia, they didn't discover this to 2004. So it's a kind of an exciting thing to know that there's a very powerful microbe in our gut that takes care of our gut lining for us, but we just have to take care of it. So that is what this whole show is about. I hope you'll eat more apples. I hope you will feed that microbiome the things that it needs. And I hope it will keep you healthy, happy, and well. And you'll live a really happy life where wellness is the norm and not the exception. Thanks for listening, guys, and we'll see you next week.